Alright, welcome back to the last part we'll probably be doing today. So this is interesting. None of the characters seem to be voiced in this section. Don't know why, maybe it's just, time restraints and they didn't have time to voice all of them, or maybe there's some story purpose, but let's continue. Right, Mr. Klim. So, the sleepyhead's finally up, huh? What are you two doing here? You don't know where we are? This is the upper floor of the pressure exchange chamber. The real one. We were just about to get dressed and head out. You plan to return then? To Earth, I mean. Yeah. Sigma told us where we could find the shuttle that brought us here. Well, I guess he's not really the Sigma I knew anymore. He's Dr. Klim now, or Zero Sr., depending on how you look at it. Why? What do you mean, why? Well... I'm just curious why you would choose to return to a devastated planet when you could stay here. How is staying here gonna help? You aren't gonna say something idiotic about how we should wait here until Sigma changes the past, are you? You can't wait for something that's already happened. Grammar doesn't work that way. Heck, nature doesn't work that way. You following me? We've already lived through history. Sigma failed to keep the virus from getting out. About 45 years ago, Radical 6 created a pandemic and the antimatter reactors blew up. That all happened. Whatever Sigma does in the past, history's not going to change. In fact, I will skip the text accidentally. It's because of what he did or didn't do in the past that we've got this past and present. Let me give you an example. Imagine a group of 100 motorcycles driving down an endless freeway. Eventually they hit a junction. The road splits in two. One freeway continues off northwest, and the other stretches out to the northeast. So one guy, we'll call him S, pipes up. "Let's go northwest," he said. So they take the northwestern road, but about a mile past the intersection, something horrible happens. A semi driving the other way veers into their lane and plows through the bikers. 90 of them die. The surviving 10 are wounded but survive. They don't stop though. They keep riding down that highway and they don't even mourn the dead people, and eventually they'd gone 100,000 miles. Then suddenly, something happens that they couldn't have predicted. S, who had survived, suddenly has his consciousness thrown back into time. Whoa, the story's getting a little weird. He ends up back in his own body just before they reach the junction. He remembers everything. So, what does S do? What anybody would do. Let's go northeast. That means that all 100 of the bikers survive to reach their destination happy and healthy. And they all live happily ever after. That's what you're thinking, right? It's a great outcome for the 100 bikers that went northeast. But the guy that's trying to get insurance money on a semi-truck certainly isn't having a great day. But what about the 10 that went northwest and survived the accident? Huh? Wouldn't it be 9 people? I mean, S's mind went back in time, right? Ah, right. Okay, 9 people then. What happens to the reality they were living? Does it just disappear when S changes the past? It's not as if it was the only bad things that happened during that 100,000-mile trip. Maybe one of them fell in love with a woman working at a gas station when they stopped at and had a child. Maybe one of them picked up a homeless kid who joined them on their adventure. That 100,000-mile journey would be full of stories. Friendships, farewells, romances. The loss of those 90 lives is horrible and unfortunate. But what would rewriting their history mean? The 9 who survived lived full lives. How can it be right to just erase all that? The survivors overcame their own misery and loss, and made the best they could out of the hand they'd been dealt. Isn't that worth something? Isn't that the best thing that humans can aspire to? Is there really any point to a world where everything is happy? Are people who struggle for a better life just idiots? Being human is about fighting, even when it seems hopeless, and finding happiness even in a world that hates it. Are you saying that's worthless? If you're saying rewriting the past will erase all the other timelines, then whatever God wrote those rules can... look, I'm just not gonna accept that, alright? You get it? If Sigma changes the past, then you and Cork will never meet. Is he right? No, it's not gonna happen. We're here right now. This is reality. Even if Sigma does change the past, we're not just gonna disappear or something. Oh, then that means we get to stay together? Good. Thanks, kid. I understand how you feel. Why you want to return to Earth is clear. You have lives there, I imagine. There are likely people waiting for you. Right. Uh-huh. Have you already said goodbye to the others? Phi, Luna, Alice, and Clover all saw us off. We told them we'd see them again someday, and then came here. They were the only people you want to say goodbye to? No point in saying anything to Dio. Kick him in the face if you wanted. Besides, he's asleep. You were asleep too. Sorry, but we really didn't know much about you. You have a point. Akane was in the armor in this timeline after all. What about Sigma? Well, he's not really Mr. Sigma anymore. Of course. He is Dr. Clem now that his consciousness has returned. Yeah, but more importantly, he's the guy who brought us all here. Not a lot of warm feelings there, you know. And Akane? Never mind her. She's just like him. Not the Akane I knew. She must have seen some pretty awful things over the years. Heck, she might not even be human anymore. She definitely did seem to have a much different personality. But the Akane Kurashiki I know isn't here. She's not anywhere. Well, that's sad. In the end, Clover and I were just pawns. Pawns to be used and then gotten rid of. Still, it's not like we're completely resentful. We had to be here to help change the past. That part's easy to understand. But it kinda sucks though. I mean, Sigma and Phi have it easy. They get to go back to December 25th in 2028. They'll stop the Radical Six and save the world, and then they'll have a nice normal future to look forward to. In other words, they get to go back to Point E and just enjoy history like it was supposed to happen. But we don't. Oh yeah, and Clover's never gonna see her brother again. It's probably a little melancholy, even though she almost seems to have not brought him up almost at all in the story. We're stuck with Point C as our starting point. You told us about Tenmyouji's story, right? The one with the motorcycles. It would be like if Alice and I were kidnapped right before the intersection. Then whoever grabbed us takes us to wherever the bikers are going, 10,000 miles to the northwest. Don't get us wrong. We know why we had to be here. Without us, S's consciousness wouldn't have been able to go back to right before the intersection. If that couldn't happen, then the fate of those 90 dead bikers would be sealed. But it's still not the best situation for those of us left in the Northwest. We're stuck in the reality where 90 bikers died. Are we just supposed to go live on Earth? It's a wasteland now. And what about our friends and families? We left a whole world behind 45 years ago. Even if it is for the greater good. It just doesn't seem fair, does it? Yeah, it's a little bit much. So, we went in and talked to the old lady. She told us that there is one way. One way we could get back to the past. Let's say you do go back to the past. Wouldn't that cause your minds to get thrown back here? That seemed to be how Sigma and Phi's jumps worked, at least. Yes, you're right. But this is different. Different? How so? From what she said, it sounds like there's a way we can send our bodies back in time too. That's ridiculous. It would create a paradox. How could you have 2 Clovers and 2 Alices at the same time? But that wouldn't happen. Because we'd murder them. Akane says there's a way around that. How on earth does she plan to do that? Schrodinger's cat. And how's that gonna work? Oh, no, we're not gonna explain that? Okay. I got a general idea, but I was hoping they'd explain it in more detail. Oh, hey, Kyle. Figured you'd come here eventually. Where's Dr. Klein? Luna said you were with him. He said he was tired, so he's off resting right now. There's a bedroom at the end of the hallway. He's in there, if you're curious. Oh, right. He told me to turn on this hologram projector thing when you showed up. Want me to start it? Sure. Is it going to be the same video or something different? I guess it'll be different because we have a different consciousness in this body now. Glad to see you. There isn't anything in particular I have to tell you. Well, then why do we want to see you? However, I imagine there are a great number of things weighing on your mind. I'd love to answer all your questions, but unfortunately my circumstances make that an impossibility. I hope you can forgive me. Everything I know, Phi should also know. I have instructed her to answer any questions anyone might have. Anyone other than Kyle, that is. What a jerk. What does he mean, other than Kyle? Who knows? Is there anything you want to ask? Right, well, I guess I may as well cut to the chase. Just who are you, Phi? I bet this is what that one golden file was about. I'm not Superman, that's for sure. And I'm not Batman or Spider-Man or Aquaman or a Merman or a Wolfman. I'm not a Brahmin or a Common or a Ramen. I'm not a Cayman either, so you don't really have to worry about anything. Please don't dodge the question. About 5 hours ago, Akane attacked you with a knife. That triggered something which sent your mind back to the past, correct? Ah! Specifically, you were sent to Point D, April 13th, 2029. On that date, your body was already in Akane's custody. Although, by then you were in cold sleep. You wouldn't have regained consciousness, but your mind was now inhabiting that body. That pod was your home for 45 years. You slept there frozen until the time was right. Then on January 25th, 2074, you were finally thawed out. Even though you didn't wake up. Still unconscious, you were carried to the AB room. That was when your consciousness changed bodies again. A version of you from December 25th, 2028 arrived, pushing you out. And sending you back to December 25th, 2028. This is where you finally woke up. In 2028, you found and joined forces with Sigma, whose older mind was inhabiting his younger body. Together, you attempted to infiltrate the Mars mission test facility. Unfortunately, you failed. The Radical Six did escape on New Year's Eve. That failure determined the path you followed. Instead of going along the line that branches out to the right from Point E, you headed straight to Point D. Point D being April 13th of the following year. That was the day that you made your way to Akane's hideout and asked to be put into one of the treatment pods. Another consciousness enters your body around that time from the future. It is, of course, the version of you that left your body when Akane attacked you in the garden. This caused the two versions of you to swap places. And you moved 45 years into the future, where you woke up on the garden floor. That put you on the line that comes here. So if we discount the time you spend in cold sleep, for you, only 3.5 months have passed since that happened. That being when you were sent back into the past from the garden. Have I missed anything? No, everything you talked about you got right. What do you mean by that? I'm kind of an unknown variable in this equation. You could think of me as a kind of X factor. It's taken me the last 3.5 months to understand it, and I haven't understood anything in the last 3.5 seconds. Could you please explain? It's kind of like the relationship between classical mechanics and modern physics. Strictly speaking, you can't combine velocities with v1 plus v2. Oh, good. Of course, the sort of velocities we encounter in day-to-day life don't come close to being c to the power of 2, which is the speed of light squared. That means that 1, is usually going to evaluate to something pretty close to 1. Since that would mean dividing by 1, it's usually okay just to skip that step and use v1 plus v2. You see what I'm saying? In most situations it works, even if it isn't technically correct. So, you knew enough to get the stuff you were talking about right. As long as you stick to that, you won't run into any problems. I don't quite understand. Yeah, stupid, Kyle here doesn't understand anything. You should explain it to him, Phi, so he understands. In fact, I feel like you're dodging my questions. So, was that what you wanted to ask about? No. What I really wanted to know is what happened in between Christmas and New Year's Eve in 2028. You and Sigma infiltrated the Mars mission test site, didn't you? Yes. What happened there? How did Sigma lose his eye in both arms? And why was Radical 6 in there in the first place? What could a deadly virus have to do with a simulated mission to space? Sorry, but I can't tell you that. Why? Because it would change history. There's a history where the virus didn't escape. That's the line that goes to the right of Pointy. In that timeline, humanity isn't heading for annihilation, and Earth isn't red. The future is much brighter. But if I tell you what you're asking me right now, then that reality will disappear. You understand? I don't. Why would all of that disappear if you told me what I want to know? You're about to go back to the past, right? Is it going to be something like you have to kill Phi, and you'll be like, no, I couldn't do that. The past? Don't be silly. I can't do that. Then where the heck did you learn all this stuff? I just listened to you tell me a bunch of things you shouldn't have known about. You were sleeping in the pod in the garden, you just woke up. So how can you know all of this? You know my past, Sigma's past. I shall give you your answer. You are not Kyle Klim. Your body is Kyle's, but your consciousness is not. I figured that. Think about it. Do you really believe you are Kyle? Or could you be someone else entirely? Then, where's the real Kyle's consciousness? He was thrown out when you entered. Right now, in a manner of speaking, he's arrived at December 25th in 2028. His consciousness has gone into a body from that time. I doubt you know how much the Doctor loves Kyle. He raised him on his own. Kyle is irreplaceable. Do you really think he would go back to the past and leave Kyle behind here? I know what I told the others. That Kyle was Dr. Klim's spare. But that was not his only purpose. Kyle's consciousness is integral to what we are trying to accomplish. This new mission begins on Christmas and ends on New Year's Eve 2028. Its purpose will be to infiltrate the test facility and prevent the spread of the virus. For this to happen, Kyle is absolutely necessary. And that is why he created him? Yes, so now that my consciousness has entered his body, the Doctor has achieved his objective. Kyle has gone back to 2028 to participate in his mission. Correct. There's one thing that troubles me. Kyle was created before reaching point B from point D. That means that his body did not exist on Christmas in 2028. Does that mean he has entered my body? Have we just switched places? I suppose you could put it that way, yes. That's ridiculous. What's going to happen to me? Are you telling me I have to spend the rest of my life here in this box, living in a borrowed body? No, not at all. You can travel freely through time and space. You are an uncontrolled variable that entered our closed system. As such, the rules of this world do not apply to you. I have no idea what you... Please, don't try to play dumb. I know what you are. Surely, you must know by now too. What? You're about to go into the past and save the world. Phi and Sigma, even with all of his future knowledge, will need your help. Only you can right the horrible wrongs of our past. Only you can save the world. There's no way Yes, there is. You have to. Don't you want to know the truth? Don't you want to know what happened in between Christmas and New Year's Eve in 2028? Well, yes, I do, but then you must believe. Reality is shaped by what we believe reality should be. If observation can change the motion of a particle, then how is it odd to think that human thought can shape reality? Your will can change history. The world will be reshaped into the one you imagine. This is weird. I mean, I'm like... I don't want to say too much right now, but I mean, man, like, a lot of this is just kind of... Wait, really? You know, is that what you mean? Okay, I guess it could kind of mean that. Remember what I've told you. Only you can change history. Only you can save the world. So is that what we're doing? We're gonna go save the world now? Let's go take a quick peek at our flowchart before we move on any farther. Save first. Alright, and what does our flowchart look like now? Gonna hop into the past. Which, what really sent us back again? Wait, where are we at? Where are we supposed to go? I think I may have just completed the game. And, it's not especially, like, easy to understand. Yeah, you do your shooty head thing. I was skipping around here for a second. I was trying to figure out if I missed something. Because I didn't see any new, like, lines appear, and it didn't say anything new appeared. Well, after doing a quick search online after spending about 5 minutes trying to look around, I found out apparently that's the end of the game. Isn't that wonderful? A great way to end a game. Apparently, it's supposed to lead into Zero Escape 3, which, you know, as most of us know at this point, is put on a hiatus for an indefinite amount of time. Being considered, but obviously is at the moment, it's not here. Which is unfortunate. I got some things to say about this game. But let me have a moment just to think about it. Also, I want to get the static sound out of my ear. So, what can we talk about here? Well, as a whole, it definitely seemed like a much more ambitious project than the first game. The first game was a lot shorter, obviously, and it had a lot more of a smaller, you know, I wouldn't say budget, but plan going on. It was a very typical visual novel, rather, where this had a 3D aspect to the characters and everything, and to the world. which I will admit in some situations was kind of neat, but as a whole was probably unnecessary. But, you know, I mean, I didn't mind it, I just didn't think that they needed to put all the time into making 3D models for the characters. Especially how they sometimes kind of glitched up and looked a little weird. I don't know if maybe that was just me playing it on this and it looked better on other versions or not. English translation was a nice touch, even if a lot of people don't like it. I plan on playing through it on an English translation at some point just for fun to re-see the game. But let's see, that ending wasn't great. Apparently I think that one ending I got was because I went through the entire game on hard. Otherwise I don't think would have gotten that. And actually, let's take a look at our gold files really quick. So I was told I couldn't read a number of these until we beat the game. Well, we've beaten the game, so let's take a look through them. See, Jumpy Doll. Sounds like the name of a doll. Jumpy. But why? Yeah, I guess that kind of is supposed to help you understand the Jumpy and Akane connection thing. Axelavir, an antiviral medication made to counteract Radical 6. More specifically, it's an antibody with a natural resistance to the virus. It was found and extracted from an individual in 2038. I wonder when that was. And then replicated using the IG replicator. An Axelavir injection is the only known way to fight off a Radical 6 infection. Let's look forward some more. We had some more up here. Principle of causality. The law of cause and effect. Specifically, that a cause must precede every effect. At the quantum level, however, things aren't quite as immutable. The principle of a quantum superposition holds that any physical system, such as an electron, exists at least partially in all of its theoretical states or configurations, but when measured gives a result corresponding to only one of them. This is that Schrodinger's cat thing where we were talking about how that when you measure a particle, that's when you're able to figure out what it does, or something like that. A classic example of this is the double slit experiment, where light appears to behave as both a wave and a particle. One of the interesting implications of this is that, in a sense, you are influencing the past. By observing a system, you are defining the cause of an effect you witness, and, in a way, altering the past. Normally I would comment here that the quantum level is where it gets real. But given the nature of this phenomenon, it seemed that it would be more accurate to say that the quantum level is where it gets unreal. Knox's 10 Commandments is going to have the... Oh, okay. Published following as his rules for writing a mystery novel. Criminal must be mentioned early on. All supernatural or paternal agencies are ruled out. Preternatural. No more than one secret room or passage. No hitherto undiscovered poisons may be used nor any appliance which will need a long scientific explanation. No one with extrasensory perception or similar powers can appear. They mentioned one of these rules, but I don't remember which one. No accident must ever help the detective, nor must he ever have an unaccountable intuition which proves to be right. The detective must not commit the crime. The detective must declare any clues he may discover. The stupid friend of the detective, the Watson, must conceal nothing from the reader, and twin brothers and doubles generally must not appear unannounced. Interesting. If anyone can provide a little more background for that, that would be kind of cool. The mystery of Phi. So who is Phi? There are a few clues scattered throughout the story, but nothing conclusive. Perhaps the truth will be revealed at the Nevada test site. Deactivation passwords. Here's a little something about the bomb deactivation passwords. Those passwords, they aren't just gibberish. There's something hidden in each one. I can only give you one hint, plus one. Now, I'm not going to be messing with that. There's a lot more to the story, but I think we'll stop the secret archives here. Thank you for playing. We hope you enjoyed the game. Oh, good. That was fun. So, let me think. I like the secret system. That was kind of cool. It basically did what everybody who was commenting in 999 helping me before did, giving me background information and whatnot. Though I think they should have restricted it somewhat. Maybe not necessarily restrict you from getting the file, but putting a little tag on it or something that said spoiler and then removing the tag when it was safe to read later. That might not be a terrible idea. Let's see what else. Overall, I thought it was too long. I really did. I thought the game was too long just because I liked the pacing, and I can't bring up the original story too much because they're trying to do different things here. But at the same time, the original story was paced so well, and most of the relevant facts you would remember through the story because they didn't give you so much information that you couldn't hold it all. The bad part about this game is they gave us so much information throughout all of the different routes that I just don't remember it all. And it's not just that, like, like the small details skip my mind. Like, there's huge details that I just don't remember. And I'm just not a huge fan of the way they did that. Maybe it was all necessary, but I did like the pacing in the original game, let's just say that. That ending was that was real abrupt. That was like the ending to an episodic game. like a tune in next month for the next episode of the game kind of thing. That was really abrupt. And what they did with the ending towards there, like I said, a lot of this stuff just, I wouldn't say it didn't make sense, but it just didn't feel right. And I can't really explain it much better than that. It didn't feel like it flowed right. They just said, this is how it is. And there's not really a reason for me to say that that isn't how it is, but it just seems too convenient, or too, like, it just flowed too much, and I don't know. But all in all, the game was fun. I did enjoy reading through it, and I enjoyed everyone's participation. It was really fun experience, and even still with how I felt about how the ending went, I would still very much look forward to a third game in the series, if and when it comes out. That would be a fun one. The flowchart was a nice addition to the game, definitely saved you some time, and it was nice that they didn't make us replay puzzles. That was pretty cool from a gameplay perspective. Or from a gameplay perspective, just because it helped keep the story from getting as stale. Though I wasn't as huge a fan as the music as the original game. Anyway, I think that's about all I've got to say. If I think of anything else, I might add it post-editing here. But I hope you guys enjoyed Virtue's Last Reward. I didn't quite expect to finish it tonight. I was expecting maybe 1 or 2 more episodes, honestly, because that ended real abrupt-like. And, yeah, I'm gonna start the new Let's Play soon, whenever it comes in the mail. It's supposed to come on Friday, so we'll start that relatively soon. Leave comments down below if you guys have anything you'd like to explain to me that I didn't fully understand, or if you had a different opinion on something, especially if you have a good reason for it. I would greatly appreciate to read it. It might even help me have a better understanding of this game as a whole and a better appreciation. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for the next Let's Play. Bye!